The arena was vast, a floating coliseum suspended above the glassy oceans of Kithaeron Prime. Its domed ceiling shimmered with a permanent aurora, casting a ghostly spectrum of lights onto the spectators below. The crowd was a kaleidoscope of alien species, all gathered to witness what they called the Duel of Legends. Among them were Gracthari, Zarathi, and even the elusive Vorlon. But all eyes, without exception, were on the two combatants. On one side stood Regard Sol, a towering Gracthari who had earned a reputation that spanned half the galaxy. His armor gleamed with the scars of countless battles, each etched symbol representing a life he had spared or a duel he had survived. His eyes glowed with calculated ferocity, scanning the crowd with a predator's precision. On the other side was a human, a species many considered fragile and unworthy in the deadly sport of interstellar dueling. But this human, Captain Elias Mercer, carried himself with a quiet authority that demanded attention. A simple leather vest, worn and patched from countless campaigns, clung to his lean frame. His hands rested lightly on the hilt of a plasma saber, his posture relaxed, yet unnervingly alert. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, distorted yet authoritative. Citizens of Kithaeron Prime, witness a duel unlike any other. The Gracthari champion, Regard Sol, faces a human veteran, Elias Mercer. Let the duel begin. The crowd erupted in a cacophony of roars, shrieks, and telepathic chants. While the Gracthari raised his weapon high, signaling challenge and dominance, Elias stepped forward calmly. He didn't shout, didn't taunt. He simply walked toward the center of the arena, his eyes locked on Regard's. There was no fear, only a resolve that shimmered brighter than any aurora above. The beginning of the duel. Regard struck first. His saber blazed in a vertical arc aimed straight at Elias's head. Many would have expected the human to falter, to stumble under such raw power. But Elias sidestepped with precision, his own saber sweeping upward in a defensive maneuver that deflected Regard's strike. Sparks erupted as plasma met plasma. The Gracthari growled, an involuntary sound that betrayed frustration. "You are faster than your kind should be," he hissed, his voice amplified by the arena's sound matrix. Elias didn't respond verbally. Instead, he pressed forward, forcing Regard to retreat step by step. Every movement was measured, every strike deliberate. He exploited the smallest gaps in Regard's defense, not to wound, but to push him, to test him. The spectators leaned forward in astonishment. Humans were considered fragile, unpredictable, even inferior by most galactic standards. Yet here was one, moving with a mastery of combat that rivaled the galaxy's greatest duelists. After several tense minutes, Regard's arrogance began to crack. Sweat gleamed on his armored forehead. "You fight differently," he admitted, almost begrudgingly. "Your mind, your instincts, not like the other weaklings I have crushed." Elias finally spoke. "I fight like someone who has seen what failure costs." His voice was calm but carried an unspoken weight, a history of war, of comrades lost, of worlds defended. The duel was no longer a simple display of skill, it had become a test of will. The middle, strategy and mind games. The arena shifted, literally. Gravity fields fluctuated, platforms rotated, and energy barriers erupted sporadically to make the duel more entertaining for the audience. Many duelists would have been disoriented. Regard, accustomed to his size and raw power, struggled to adjust. Elias, trained in the unpredictability of human battlefields, adapted seamlessly. Regard's strikes became more desperate, relying on brute force rather than finesse. Elias parried, dodged, and countered, using momentum against his opponent. Each movement seemed calculated not to harm, but to teach, to show Rhaegar that strength alone did not win battles. "You are maddening," Rhaegar roared, slamming his saber down with enough force to fracture the platform beneath him. Elias pivoted, letting Rhaegar's momentum carry him past, then delivered a precise kick to the Gracthri's chest, sending him sliding across the metal floor. The crowd gasped. A human had physically outmaneuvered a Gracthri champion. Rhaegar rose, breathing heavily, his pride battered more than his body. He realized this was not a mere duel of arms. It was a duel of philosophy, of understanding the mind behind the blade. "You understand combat differently than any I have fought," Rhaegar admitted between gritted teeth. "Your species' cunning, adaptive." Elias's eyes softened for the briefest moment. "And your species' powerful, but predictable when blinded by pride." That momentary pause allowed both fighters to recalibrate. They circled each other warily, no longer attacking recklessly. The duel had become a dance, a mutual recognition of skill, respect, and the burden of experience. The climax, when respect meets resolve hours, in human perception, passed. In the arena, time seemed elastic, stretching as the duel escalated. Injuries accumulated. Rhaegar's armor was scorched, human sweat mixed with plasma burns on his arms. Elias bore shallow cuts and bruises, yet his stamina seemed inexhaustible. Then came the final maneuver. Rhaegar lunged with a furious strike, faster and more precise than before. Elias countered, but not with defense, with insight. Using Rhaegar's own momentum, he guided the Gracthri's saber past him, leaving the champion off balance, weapon extended. The crowd fell silent. Every eye in the arena fixed on the two warriors, waiting for the decisive blow. Elias didn't strike. He held his saber at the ready, unwavering. "Yield," he said simply, the command carrying both authority and mercy. Rhaegar's chest heaved. His pride warred with reason, but finally, after a long, tense pause, he dropped his weapon. The Gracthri bowed his head slightly, not in submission, but in recognition. The announcer's voice roared over the speakers. "A human has bested a Gracthri veteran. Elias Mercer stands victorious." But the celebration was muted. The duel had transcended mere victory. Both combatants understood something fundamental. Strength without understanding, or courage without restraint, is meaningless. The aftermath, the arena emptied slowly, leaving Elias and Rhaegar alone on the rotating platforms. The human approached the Gracthri, offering a hand. Rhaegar took it, gripping tightly. "You honor the battlefield. Your kind earns respect in ways I never imagined." Elias nodded. "And your kind teaches resilience, power, and the consequences of pride." For the first time, an interstellar audience witnessed something rare, mutual respect between species long defined by prejudice. Humans, often underestimated, had proven not just their combat ability, but their ingenuity, morality, and capacity for strategy. Word of the duel spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Other human veterans, once dismissed as inconsequential, now found their exploits recognized. Ships flying human insignias were treated with newfound caution and respect. Elias Mercer became a legend, not merely for winning, but for showing that humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's fiercest warriors. The ending, legacy beyond the duel. Months later, a summit convened on Kithaeron Prime. Leaders of multiple species, including Gracthri warlords, Zarathi strategists, and even Vorlon emissaries, gathered to discuss the future of interstellar diplomacy. At the center of the hall, a single seat remained for Elias Mercer. Rhaegar Sol, now an advocate for human recognition, introduced him. "This human has done more than win a duel. He has reminded us all that strength is not the measure of worth. Insight, courage, and honor These are what endure. Elias rose, glancing at the gathered leaders. A duel is never just about the fight, he said quietly but with conviction. It's about what we learn about ourselves, about others, and about the choices we make when every option is perilous. If we remember that, perhaps we can build a galaxy where respect is earned, not demanded by fear. The assembly erupted in applause. For the first time in centuries, there was a shared understanding across species. Humans were no longer fragile, no longer underestimated. Their veterans, their soldiers, and their leaders carried a reputation that transcended borders and prejudices. Rhaegar approached Elias once more, this time as a friend and equal. Perhaps we could train together, learn from each other. Elias smiled, a rare, genuine expression that reflected both triumph and hope. Perhaps we should. The galaxy is wide, and there is much to learn. But if we do it together, it will be stronger for everyone. As they walked out of the hall, the twin suns of Kithaeron Prime glinted off the metallic structures, illuminating a new era of respect. The duel had ended, but the legacy of a human veteran who faced a legend and refused to be underestimated would echo across the stars for generations. And in that echo, every predator who once doubted humanity's worth would think twice before challenging them.